And she's in. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Back on the E46 today, better than an M3 build, and today is going to be the test fit of the engine and the box for the first time. Now, we're lucky enough today to be working with a company, Xcessive Manufacturing. If you go on their website, they've actually got a JZ to an E36 left-hand and right-hand drive engine mount kit. That was a lot of words. But it's not specifically listed as an E46. They have been told that possibly it works, etc., etc. So they've actually decided to work with me, and I'm going to be the test dummy for them. So we're pretty sure they fit, but if there's any small tweaks that we have to do, I'm happy to do them, and I can tell them, give them the feedback and so on. Now, to give you guys a bit of insight what the go is with this, 1JZ non-VVTi twin turbo, stock twin turbos. Now, I know I'm going to have a bit of an issue with my downpipe. That is not anything to do with Xcessive Manufacturing. That is because I've got a custom downpipe that fit in a A80 Supra. It may not play with the steering column. So I've actually disconnected the steering column, moved it off to the side. So that's all good. And I'm running a A340 automatic gearbox. So there's no adapter plate. There's no like Nissan gearbox or anything like that. It's Toyota gearbox with a Toyota bell housing, like, you know, JZ bell housing onto the JZ, all kind of simple stuff, not super extended out or anything like that. So let's jump into the engine bay. I'll show you the pre-work that I've done, because there's some obvious things that a lot of the E46 guys know need to be done before you put your engine in, because it's gonna foul on those things. So let's jump in, have a look, see what I've done. All right, so like I said, I've actually disconnected my steering column down there. I know that's my scenario, not everyone's scenario. It's purely mine because I have this aftermarket downpipe. So we're gonna actually move this pipe in a little bit, however far we need to, or up a little bit, whatever it needs to be. That has nothing to do with these mounts. These mounts look really good, really durable, quality product. It's purely because this was modified in a different car, and then I've bought this motor, okay? So nothing to do with them, this is just mine. Just letting you know, because I don't want people to be like, oh, it's gonna foul on my downpipe. It's not, only if you've got my specific custom made downpipe, okay? Anyway, back into here. So move that, and then in the back corner, I have cut away the, what was it, like a little cubby that was in there, and I've cut off this edge here. I've done a bit of a primer, but don't worry, that's gonna be hidden a lot by like washer bottles and all that kind of stuff. For now, doesn't matter. And back here, the heater core pipes, as you know, they sit a little bit further out. They've got probably like an inch or inch and a half further than that. I've cut them off, and we're actually gonna run the pipes on there and then run 90s where they need to go. So that's kind of all the things I need to get out of the way for now. Obviously the whole front of the car's off, because that's gonna make it far easier to actually do the install. And over here, I have attached the gearbox to the motor, only a few bolts. I think I've got like 6 on there, because we're waiting for a rear seal and a front seal. Once we've got those, we'll actually bolt the box up and have it finished. Then we can kind of put it in and, you know, be a bit more complete. But what I wanted to do today is the video for the mounts, so that you guys can know, hey, can I jump on to Xcessive Manufacturing's website, order those, and are they gonna work? The other thing I want you guys to know is I'm running OEM engine mounts. That's what they said needs to be run with these mounts for it to fit and everything. So I haven't got aftermarket ones. I haven't got like, you know, polyurethane or anything like that. These are complete factory, brand new OEM ones. Give me 2 seconds. I will measure them right now for you, so you know the height of them, in case you're running a aftermarket one that's a little bit taller, a little bit shorter, whatever the case may be. Give me a sec. All right, they are 72 mil from the top to the bottom mounting face, right? Okay, so top to the bottom, 72 mil. So let's get this motor in.
the cord that kept us connected, blacking out the mirror where your light once reflected. All of the love from.
And she's in. Okay, so it was a lot of in a bit, down a bit, in a bit, down a bit, in a bit, down a bit kind of thing. But I can confirm the E36 brackets in an E46 do work. They're in. You can actually see down here how much clearance you have between the top of the sump and the actual cross member. There's probably an inch there. To be fair, at the back, it's quite close. If you were tracking it, you could probably run that. What we're going to do is we're actually, because the motor's got to come out to do a bunch of stuff, we're going to modify the sump just so it is perfect for this scenario. We're going to cut it and kind of like sharp edge it at the front. But yeah, the mounts do fit. They work. Look, they're right there. They're great. I do recommend. I haven't touched the trans tunnel at all, and it's sitting right. I would like it to be a little bit further forward, but that is why we're gonna notch the sump a little bit. But if you just wanted to drop it in, you can drop it in. It does work. If you're running an adapter plate, you're probably gonna run into issues with your firewall, I would say, at a guess. Just trying to get back there to kind of get my hand down there. Yeah, it is touching. Oh, it's not touching, it's very close. Like right here, where my fingers are, it's very close. So I'll probably give it a little massage, but my gearbox is actually sitting slightly high. I've got it kind of jacked up a little bit too high at the moment. So when that comes down, that would clear. So that's actually really good. Can confirm mounts are good. All right, so the exciting steps are done. The engine and the gearbox are in the car, which is amazing. Now, what I wanted to do is take a little bit of time yesterday evening and so on, have a chat with my mate Kel, who's an absolute guru on this stuff, and we wanted to have a bit of an approach to the rest of the kind of installation. I want to kind of give you guys a summary of what I'm going to do and also what's great about those mounts, because it's partly is why I'm doing this video is to help Xcessive Manufacturing out, because I was doing this install and they need the information as to if they work or not. They do. They bolt straight in. It took me like 2 hours and the engine and gearbox were in. It clears the K-frame from the top of the oil pan and also the curve at the back. It is close, don't get me wrong, but that's because that engine fitting in that car is close. So they've actually made a product that's really, really good. It's actually got some adjustments. So if you were to be using, let's say that you did a full custom oil pan that sat right far back, you could slide the engine quite a bit further forward, therefore having an adapter plate and so on and so forth, that you wouldn't even massage a tunnel, but you probably would, etc., etc. I don't want to go down that path. When it all comes down to it, yes, the engine mounts bolt straight on and it bolts straight in. I didn't alter my K-frame. I've got like an inch between the top of the oil pan and the K-frame itself. The close bit is at the back of that because I've got it sitting as far forward as you possibly can. You've probably got like 2 mil between the oil pan kind of curve and the K-frame. Now, saying that, I want to talk to you guys about what we're going to do, because personally, I'm going to be registering this as a street car. So obviously I need the inspectors to go over it and be happy with everything. Generally, when you do that, they do like they've got like a 20 mil ball bearing. They like to put around things and make sure things clear as a general rule, apparently. So having 2 mil clear, it's not enough for me. And the last thing I want to do is get this thing completely running and then go there and they go, oh, that's too close, right? So our plan of attack is as follows. So as you saw in the thumbnail, I put the front on. I just wanted to do that so I could see the radiator, how close that sits, etc., etc. And that's kind of shown some more issues or things that we need to just tweak a little bit. Now, firstly, the downpipe. The downpipe is a custom downpipe. I said that earlier in the video. So if you've got a stock downpipe on your twins, or if you've got a single turbo, like a VVTi, and you've got a single turbo, you won't have an issue. So the only reason I'm running into an issue is because that is a custom downpipe for a different chassis. So don't worry about that in your scenario. Oil return lines, same. It's custom oil return lines. So that is a issue that only I'm running into because I'm running those Mamba return lines. If you're running normal return lines, you wouldn't have this issue. So it would be fine, and you can ignore that as well. The oil pan sitting too close, but it's too close for my liking and for Kel's liking. So what we're going to do is actually remove that, and where the oil pan does that, we're actually going to, from this point here where it curves up, we're gonna do that, right? So we're gonna cut it back, and then weld it at a more of a right angle. Obviously at the top it'll be a slight curve, so there's not like a little lip for oil to sit on or whatever, but instead of being like a curve, it's going to be a lot more like that. In turn will give us probably an extra 5 to maybe 10 mil. We can move it slightly further forward with giving my gearbox ever so slightly more clearance, which I'm going to massage anyway. It's clearing, but I'm going to massage it anyway, but I'll get to that. Gives us a little bit more clearance, and it'll make the inspectors a little bit happier. The thermofan that you guys would have seen in a previous video. If you haven't, go and check it out. It's a really cool idea that I came up with, to use the stock shroud with an aftermarket thermofan. It sits ever so slightly too close to the pulleys and the belt. So what we're going to do is, we've got about 5 mil that we can push the actual motor of the fan and the whole fan itself into the housing. So we'll do that. And also the brackets that I made, I'll move them ever so slightly in. I'll just bend them in another, say 5 mil. So we get about 10 mil extra. With that, perfectly cleared, all good. The trans cooler. Now, I was going to run the factory trans cooler, but the expansion tank on the radiator will not work with it. And the expansion tank comes down and then it goes into the fittings for the oil cooler. So taking out the expansion tank, you lose the ports for that cooler, which is fine. I'm just gonna go an aftermarket one. We're probably still gonna try and use the stock hard lines on the opposite side of the motor. So we've got a run back and a turn in kind of thing, and then just probably put some soft lines on the end of those to the gearbox, and then soft lines from the front end to the actual oil cooler itself. So that's fine. It'll probably work a little bit better because it will be a oversized trans cooler. And I have heard that the big thing with automatics is keeping it cool. So that should actually be a good change that we've been forced to do. Radiator hoses, so that kind of worked hand in hand with the expansion tank not really working. That's fine. What we've done is I've taken the expansion tank off, and you have the port out of the radiator. So I'm still going to use the factory hose because it's got the clip on it. Hose? It's a hose. The factory hose with the BMW clip, and I'll cut the end off, and we'll probably put a inline filler, filler adapter in the actual radiator hose, and then off to the engine. So not too bad. That's easily fixable. I mean, we had to do radiator hoses anyway, so that's fine. The cross member. So the cross member for the actual gearbox, the one that I was playing with doesn't really work. Ironically, the gearbox sits almost directly above where the BMW gearbox kind of mount sits. So what we probably could do is use the existing mounts and then cut the center out and recreate something there. I wouldn't, because it's cast aluminium. So we're gonna just make a full custom one out of like tubing, something like that. But it's not, you don't have to go like super far away from the actual mounts. Where you mount the stock one for the stock auto, it's pretty much right there. Essentially what I did is I drilled 2 holes in it so I could slide the back 2 bolts of the mount, and it actually kind of sits in place. It's not usable, but it kind of sits there as a bit of a support at the moment. So we do have to make a cross member. I can't see anyone anywhere that makes a E46 A340 cross member. So that's going to be a custom piece, but that's fine. That's relatively easy to make. And we had to make that either way. It doesn't, like the brackets don't change anything. It's just the brackets have sat it in a certain point, and now we can go, okay, that's where we can make them out. Massaging the tunnel, it's actually near the starter motor, because as you would expect, the tunnel's like that, but then it pops out a little bit into the starter motor. So I am gonna get in there and just massage it a little bit, just to give me a little extra clearance, because I do like to have a little bit more clearance than not enough. You don't want things to be too tight just in case. At the same time, I'll be pulling out all the black sound deadening down there. I left it in just for the test fit, but 1, it's too close. 2, I've heard horror stories that stuff catches on fire when you're running turbos, so I'm ripping it all out. I do not want to have a chance of catching on fire, so not worth it. Ripping it out, and it'll be a little noisier in the cab, who cares? And the last thing that we noticed was the heater core ports. I showed you how I cut them back. Now it fits in like that, but to actually put a hose on those, the right one, all good, gonna bolt that on, 90-degree bend, but the left one, we are gonna bend up ever so slightly, maybe like a 30-degree bend out of it, nothing crazy, just enough so that it is easier to get a 90 on. But that's it, really. And when it comes down to it, for having no engine even test fit in that car, to bolting 2 brackets on and dropping it in, that was really simple. Now, I can't remember what the measurement was earlier that I showed you for the OEM engine mounts, but if you want, you could go lower, okay? So you could almost go like 15 mil lower safely, because you got about 25 mil clearance. You could go 15 mil lower, which would give you 15 mil more clearance for your gearbox, essentially letting you push the engine back ever so slightly. Keep in mind, if you keep pushing the engine back, you may run into issues with your steering column, but if you run the skinny one, like I was saying, you wouldn't have an issue. I'm actually gonna see if we can run mine backwards, because we still want the collapsible bit, but there's a rubber, like a donut down low, and that is the thing that's getting close to the engine mount. It's not the engine bracket, sorry. It's not touching or anything, but it will be close. I can't get that down there because of the downpipe being in the way, but it's pretty close. So what I'll probably do is, once we actually cut the downpipe off, slide it back in, put the steering column back in place, because as you saw, I removed it for this fitment, and then see kind of how much we need to move that downpipe, and then we'll go, okay, cool, we'll move it 1 inch or 2 inches or whatever it may be. As for this video, as for those engine brackets, top notch, they're well priced, they're well built, they're thick, they're durable, and they are literally a bolt-in, slide your engine in scenario. You don't have to cut and weld your K-frame. You don't have to cut and weld your oil pan. You can if you want. I choose to, because we want that extra clearance. You don't have to. If you want, and if you, like, let's say you've got the single turbo conversion, or you've got a VVTi with the single turbo, probably wouldn't be coming out, that kind of scenario, right? You could drop it in once, and as long as you've done, you know, simple things like you've bent up the heater core hose, you have massaged it enough, the tunnel enough for your gearbox, depending on what you're running, if you're running an adapter plate or not, etc., etc. Yeah, it could be pretty much, it could stay in there, which is amazing, because doing engine conversions, the engine's in, engine out, engine in, engine out, all that kind of stuff, a lot of times, and to have been able to bolt those brackets on and have the engine, it's still in there now. I've put it in and I've closed the bonnet because it's just in place. It's safer in there on the engine mounts with a jack stand under the back on a, you know, on a plank of wood under the gearbox, holding it at a nice level. That ain't gonna drop, you know? On an engine stand, man, if you guys seen the last videos, that engine stand of mine, like it wasn't built right, but it's leaning, like it's about to fall over. So I'd rather have the engine in the car, and it can be. So I'm gonna leave that in there. We're gonna order a bunch more parts. Then we're gonna attack it when we've got all the parts in and we're ready to kind of go for a second test fit with all that list of things done. So guys, thank you for coming along this video. Thank you, Xcessive Manufacturing, for supporting this channel and having the faith in me and this channel to be able to help you guys out, and you guys have helped me out. Absolute legends, really, really appreciate that. And now everyone knows that the E46, 1JZ and 2JZ brackets that you guys make fit into an E46 right-hand drive. And just so you guys know, they have told me that they work right-hand drive and left-hand drive on the E36, so you can guarantee that they're gonna work on your left-hand drive as well. So guys, like I said, thank you for coming along. I hope this has helped you. If it has, please like the video. Maybe jump in the comments, let me know if you run them, if you have been waiting to see the company release E46 ones, etc., etc. Or if you just want to hang around, jump in the comments, subscribe to the channel, and see the rest of this build. Thanks for coming along, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. See you guys.